Hi there, I'm FCB and I sound a little bit like that.
What do you want?
So last year I made a video in which I made some big true claims about how you shouldn't really listen to music or podcasts while you draw. And I still stand by it. I still agree with everything I said on that video, but ever since I made that video, I've gotten some comments on Discord and also here on YouTube from people who said that actually music helps them focus and it doesn't really affect their ability to draw at all. So I decided to put that to the test, see if I'm just pulling it out of my ass or if really there is something to the idea that you shouldn't divide your focus at all. You should have your total focus when you draw. So, okay, how am I gonna go about doing this? I've tried to come up with the most, I guess, for lack of a better word, scientific way to test this, by which I mean, I thought that it wouldn't be a very particularly insightful test if I just drew two images and just compare both of them, because there are all sorts of factors that go into that. So I thought, okay, how about I try to do all of the kinds of pictures that I usually do. So what I thought, what I eventually did was I decided to do an environment, a character, and a creature. And I would do all of those twice and compare them after I'm done. But I thought that still it was kind of I guess you could say the sample size is too small, so I decided to double it and do 2 characters, 2 environments, and 2 creatures for each, let's say, for each group, by which I mean one group is with me listening to music and the other group is me not listening to music. And yeah, so that's what I did. So in total I had 2, 4, 6, 6 pictures for each group, so 12 images. I drew 12 images, and I think that's as fair as I can make a test to really test this hypothesis, I guess. I did all of them in black and white, just so it's easier on me. And yeah, so I'm gonna add the video of me drawing and all of those things, and I'm gonna talk about it while you see me drawing, and in the end I'm gonna tell you my conclusion. Okay, so this is me drawing a character while I am listening to music, and this is the first painting I did. And for all of these I kinda had really no idea of what I was gonna do. I just had like this general idea that, okay, I want to do a character, and I didn't even know if it was gonna be like a hero or a villain or a sci-fi thing or medieval thing or horror whatever. I just knew it should be a character. So I think if you really think about it, this kind of process is already kind of skewing things in a certain direction, because this would be a very common process for probably concept art and not so much for illustration, because with illustration you usually have you have your fixed idea, you have your brief and your references of the specific things you want to do. And with concept art, usually you have to create the ideas. So if you could say that this affects if you should listen to music or not, but I don't think so, not so much. And spoiler alert, I'm gonna give you my overall conclusion for this whole thing if you really don't want to watch the whole thing. But I think I was probably wrong. I don't think listening to music really affects how well you draw so much, but I said that I stood by the video and I still agree with everything I say, and that's because I do. And okay, why do I still agree with the video I did? Well, the reason is that I ultimately came to the conclusion that there are many different contexts in which you can draw, and by which I mean just like what I just mentioned. If you're doing illustration, I think it's better that you don't really share your attention with other things, unless you are in the ending stage where you're just rendering, because you have to keep juggling a lot of things at the same time in your head, especially if you have like references that you need to follow, or like a brief. Let's say you have an illustration for a book cover or like a card, and you have like a brief that says the things that you need to show. I think when you're doing that, it's probably best that you don't listen to music. But in this case, what I'm doing here is pretty much doing concept art with a very vague idea of where I'm gonna end up. So it's more like an exploration, you know. And I guess you could say that the rendering is kind of a mindless thing. And I don't mean mindless in a bad sense. I mean in the sense that when you are rendering, it's usually your instincts that follow your marks and not so much your conscious thought. And of course, this is gonna be different for everybody because everybody has a different method of doing things. But in my experience, when I'm doing concepts or when I'm rendering and I just wanna like generate new ideas, I feel like I don't need to give my undivided attention to the image so much. And I guess you could say that this whole thing was like a waste of time, because the conclusion that I ultimately reached was kind of really obvious. Like basically what I'm saying is things that don't require your full attention don't require your full attention, and things that do. But you know, I thought it was like a fun experiment to do, and the worst case scenario, I got some practice out of it, because I had to come up with ideas with like a very basic prompt, and I enjoy doing it. And I think I encourage you to do this kind of thing for yourself, not only for this subject, but whenever you have some kind of thing you want to do and you're not sure what's it gonna be, like what the impact is gonna be on your art, just test it out, you know. Try different things, do I enjoy working from grayscale to color, or is it better for me to just start with color from the beginning? Well, the answer is going to depend on you, and the only way to find out is to try it. So, you know, open up your favorite Photoshop, or even better, not Photoshop, drawing software, and test things out and see what you like and what you don't like, because nobody in the end can tell you what's going to be good for you except yourself. I will say though that I guess you could say that working with music or some other distraction might be a sign that you kind of know your fundamentals, and you can judge for yourself whether or not I really know my anatomy and my values. But because if you have some kind of distraction, like I said, your instincts take in. You don't have much opportunity to look up a reference, because at least in my case, if I need to look at some reference and I've got like some person singing in my ear or talking in my ear, that's really annoying. Like, even when I listen to music, if I have to look up some reference and really figure out what it is that I'm drawing, then I have to turn the music off, because I'm not smart enough to do that with music on. But yeah, so I think this was like a fun experiment, and I would be very curious to see what you guys think of like comparing both groups in the end, because in my mind, I don't think there's much difference at all. Like, I asked on Discord and on Twitter, like, I was kind of being coy, but I asked people, okay, here are two groups of images, and what do you think is the difference between them? And the answers varied wildly, and I'd be curious to see what you guys think. Like, is there like one group that's much better than the other one? So let me know. I'm also very interested in the fact that mood has when drawing and painting, and of course music is gonna affect that. I don't know if that's just me, but I feel like if I have some aggressive music or some, like the opposite, some very calm or sad music, it really does affect the marks that I'm making. So that actually might be something to consider taking into account if I want to achieve some specific effect. It's not like a lot. It doesn't completely change the way I draw, but when it comes to making decisions, like I did here, like, am I gonna do like add some very angular shape, or is it gonna be like a gentle curve or something? I feel like this is really affected by my mood, and my mood is affected by music that I'm listening. Or if I'm listening to a really funny podcast, I wonder if that has an effect. I have to pay attention to myself a little more in order to have a solid answer to that, but I think it's an interesting question, which is another reason why I would advise you guys to do that. And if you let me know what you noticed in yourself and in your art when you are doing this kind of thing. Something else that I forgot to mention is that I use both Photoshop and Krita with very different brushes when I was doing these, because I guess I was just trying to be more random with my process, because I wanted to see like the specific effect that dividing my attention has on painting, and I didn't want to like the software to get in the way of my conclusions about that. So that's why I chose, okay, this I'm gonna do in Photoshop and this I'm gonna do in Krita. And yeah, like I said, my ultimate conclusion is that it doesn't really matter, I guess, depending on what you're doing, but use your best judgment. Which is really obvious. If I had stopped to think about it for like 5 minutes, I probably would have reached that conclusion. But it was a fun thing to do. And I'm gonna leave these playing for a little bit, just because I think I said already everything I wanted to say about it. Just so you guys can see them, and I'm gonna put the two groups on the screen so you can judge for yourself. And if you have like a different conclusion, if you think it really makes a difference, and please let me know, write a comment or write me on Discord or something. And I'm gonna put the full videos of all these paintings I did on Patreon, and also the high-res images. So if you're interested in seeing that and other things that I do, and If you desperately want to give me money, because it's a very normal thing to do, please consider joining my Patreon, where you can get those things. But if you don't, it's cool, because you know. Anyway, thank you for watching, and see you next time. Have a good one.